So my wife and I decided to go sit down with an estate planning attorney and create a trust, and I'll tell you what we did. I wanted all of our money to go into the trust and then the money get placed in a balanced fund where it can average 8 to 9% returns. What that means is over the last 10 years, the fund has averaged 8 to 9% returns every year. There's a lot of balanced funds out there that'll do that, and I didn't want it to be in an aggressive fund. So the way I had it set up was if my wife and I pass away, we named 4 different families for her to go to that'll take care of her. And they can access $2,000 a month until she's 18, and then she can have $2,000 a month all the way up until age 40. And then when she turns 40, she can start taking out 5% of that trust each year, but no more than 5%. Now, the reason why I wanted to set it up like that is if the fund is averaging 8 to 9% returns and she's only taking out 5, then that allows the trust to grow and then it can be passed on to future generations. What's wonderful about a trust is you can make it as detailed as you want. We put it in there that you have to be blood related, and that keeps people from coming into the family and then walking away with some of the money. We also put stipulations in there to where major purchases that weren't necessary was not allowed. In other words, you can't take out a big chunk of change and then buy a house, because the problem is if you're married and you buy that house and it's in a joint name, if you get a divorce, then the spouse takes 50% of that. So we set it up to where that couldn't happen. Now, there are some exceptions in the trust, like, well, what if they get a disease? What if their house burns down? What if they have this major unexpected hospital bill? Well, in extreme situations like that, the trust can cover those expenses. Talked to this one gentleman who set up his trust to where the kids, if they wanted to take out $30,000 that year, they had to be making $30,000 a year in salary. If they made $50,000 a year in salary, they could take out $50,000 from the trust, and it created some level of accountability. And one of the reasons why I wanted her to wait until she's age 40 is that keeps her from becoming a quote unquote trust fund kid, where they don't know what it's like to work. They don't know what it's like to live a quote unquote normal life, even though I know there's no such thing as normal. But I wanted her to work. I wanted her to have the discipline of showing up and making her own money. And then when she's 40, and then when she passes on and her kids turn 40, life can start getting a bit easier for them. One of the other things the estate planning attorney told us is that you need to revisit this about every 5 years at least. If you can revisit every 2 to 3 years, that's good too. Now, why is that? Well, I'm going to go through some of the questions that they asked us. It was a worksheet that we filled out so that you can understand how important it is. And once you hear some of these questions, you'll understand why it's important to revisit it frequently. You write down the names of your children, but other children that come along, and then you end up writing down the names of their children. And of course, social security numbers and date of births. One of the categories is list your concerns, and it gives you some ideas. What about when you need to provide or protect for a spouse, children, grandchildren? What happens when you need to disinherit a family member? What about providing for charities at the time of death? Your plan to transfer the survival of a family business? Avoiding a conservatorship if you ever got a disability? What if one of your children is born with a disability or gets a disability or has special needs and or becomes a special needs child? Protecting children's inheritances from the possibility of failed marriages, so we touched on that already. Are you already receiving Social Security, disability, or other government benefits? Have you and your spouse signed a pre- or post-marriage contract? Are you or your spouse currently the beneficiary of someone else's trust? You list all of your properties. You list all of your furniture and personal items like jewelry, antiques, paintings, furs, collections, and other valuable non-business personal property. What about automobiles, boats, and RVs? List your bank accounts. List your broker accounts that might have stocks and bonds in it. List any retirement plans like IRAs, 401ks. What about life insurance policies? And what it does is it has you write down who they're with and the account numbers and how much is in them right now. Well, in 3 to 5 years, those numbers are going to change. Name of debtors, in other words, people who owe you money. And then guardians for your kids. So if you and your spouse both pass away, who's the family that'll take care of your kid? Or multiple kids. And then if they can't do it, or they were to pass away, who's next? And you can go 15 families if you want to, and we did 4. If you're disabled, or you come to a place cognitively where you're not as sharp as you used to be, who's the power of attorney over you to make your decisions for you? I learned a lot going through all of those questions. And I encourage you, if you have not met with an estate planning attorney yet, you need to do it. I recommend that you find an estate planning attorney near you. But if you need a referral, we can refer someone to you. I hope that was helpful. I bet there's somebody that could use this video if you want to send it to them. And if Fox Chris sounds like the kind of firm you could work with, our contact info is in the body of the video.